Member for Columbia River Revelstoke.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to rise today to speak about an iconic Canadian service organization located right here in British Columbia, and that is Avalanche Canada, or AvCan. The crew from AvCan is watching live stream, so welcome to Jill and everyone that's online. AvCan is a non-government, non-profit, charitable organization and is Canada's national avalanche safety organization. It's based in my riding in the beautiful city of Revelstoke. They develop and deliver public avalanche forecasts and special public avalanche warnings, as well as world-class public safety programs for the mountainous regions in Canada. They also provide curriculum and support to instructors of recreational avalanche skills and training courses, deliver public avalanche awareness and education programs, encourage public avalanche research, provide curriculum to teachers and organizations, and act as a central hub for avalanche information. The organization was formed in 2004 after a report was prepared for the government of BC after 29 people were killed by avalanches in Canada during the winter of 2002 and 2003. This included 7 high school students in the 2003 Connaught Creek avalanche. AvCan is led by Executive Director Gilles Valade, who is one of the most impassioned and hardworking professionals I've had the pleasure to work with. It's an organization critical not only to the safety of British Columbians, but to the many thousands of visitors that enjoy our backcountry. AvCan is recognized internationally as a leader in public avalanche safety. They provide forecasts for 14 regions that total 330,000 square kilometers, 98% of which is in British Columbia. By comparison, the United States has 22 different avalanche centers providing forecasts for less than 200,000 square kilometers in total. Current evidence indicates that due to COVID-19, there have been an increase in backcountry recreation, and many of these users are inexperienced. And it should be noted that because of this increase, search and rescue teams continue to have an unusually busy winter, making Avalanche Canada's accident prevention programs even more important. Unfortunately, while the backcountry has been busier than ever, the COVID-19 pandemic has worsened an already downward trend in sponsorship for Avalanche Canada. Private businesses are no longer able to fund, which is clearly a public service. Mr. Speaker, the federal government has recognized the importance of AvCan. In 2019, they provided $25 million one-time contribution that will help Avalanche Canada over 15 years. This funding, however, was conditioned on shared funding from the provinces. The approved business plan was based on AvCan's receiving increased funding from BC. The funding from this province is expected to be proportionate to the level of services it receives from Avalanche Canada and an accurate reflection of avalanche problem in BC. More than 95% of AvCan's forecast regions are in BC. Over 80% of AvCan's entire budget is spent in BC, and tragically, 75% of all avalanche fatalities in Canada in the last 20 years occurred in BC. So far this year, 8 people have died in avalanches in Canada, all of them in British Columbia. In 2019, the government promised $1 million every year for AvCan. Multiple times we've heard from this government a commitment to that funding, but the funds have yet to arrive. Although AvCan has a national and international recognition, they continue to struggle for recognition and support from a province that benefits the most, BC. 15 organizations representing, in quotes, everyone who is anyone in this industry, unquote, have sent letters urging this government to financially support AvCan. And it will come as a shock to most British Columbians that although BC receives most of AvCan's products and services, the province of BC is lagging far behind in providing adequate funding. The Yukon, for example, provides $60,000 annually to AvCan, representing approximately $1.40 per resident, even though a significant portion of that funding is spent in BC. Even Alberta, with its struggling economy, provides funding to Avalanche Canada in a multi-year commitment. The province of BC, on the other hand, usually provides $400,000 each year, representing, Mr. Speaker, just 8 cents per resident. I say usually because this provincial funding is not guaranteed. Up to $250,000 of AVCAN's annual funding from BC comes in the form of community gaming grants, which means that AVCAN has to reply every year for this grant. This past year has added a level of uncertainty. Again, instead of receiving a notification of community grant funding in November 2020, AVCAN was notified that confirmation would not happen until February 2021, which created an unnecessary and unreasonable level and uncertainty for governments operating or their organization's operating budget. Just this past year alone, Avalanche Canada braced itself for $287,000 lost in funding based on several programs. EMBC, 500,000 grant in 2017 has now ended. EMBC's 25,000 grant for Mountain Information Network is ended. Columbia Basin Trust has indicated their funding will not be renewed when it expires, as well as there are others. With $287,000 this year, the planned expansion of avalanche safety programs into underserved regions, including the Northern Rockies and Vancouver Island, cannot go ahead without more funding from BC. Avalanche Canada provides essential service to the province. Yes, Mr. Speaker, our own government agencies, including BC Parks, BC Hydro, Ministry of Forest Lands, Natural Resource Operations and Rural Development, EMBC, Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, hundreds of search and rescue volunteers, and so many others all rely on AVCAN's daily forecasts as safety and risk management tool. Mr. Speaker, several times we've heard from this government that funding is coming. How many more tragedies and lost lives is it going to take to get the Premier Horgan's attention before he makes good on his government's commitment for sustained and adequate funding that AVCAN was promised?
Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member.